spam. It's one of the iconic foods of the Second World War. Now, spam was imported to the UK, and the advantages in being able to import this was that it didn't actually take up too much of our very valuable shipping space, and it didn't need refrigeration either because it came in tins, so transporting it was easier and storing it was easier as well. Now, spam didn't come under the meat rations, but that doesn't mean to say that you could go to the shops and buy whatever amount of spam that you wanted, because it came under a sort of parallel system to rationing, which was the points system. Now, each month people were given 16 points to spend in the shops on food that came within the points system. Now, the foods on that system were over and above what you would get on your basic ration, and spam cost about 8 points typically each month, so half your point supply would be used on a tin of spam. So even though it wasn't on the meat ration, it still had to be used very sparingly. And what we're going to do in this recipe is to make a meal using one of our marrows from the allotment, and we're going to stuff it with a little bit of spam to make our main meal. So, chop about 1/4 of a tin of spam, and also then add in some chopped tomatoes, and then again onion, using one of our precious onions from the allotment, 1 small to medium-sized onion, chop that and add that into a bowl as well. Next ingredient is breadcrumbs. Now, lots and lots of wartime recipes use breadcrumbs as an ingredient, and it was a great way of using up stale bread. Breadcrumbs made from stale bread made sure that bread wasn't wasted, and since we were only at most able to grow about half of the wheat that went into bread, the rest of it had to be imported, so therefore we had to be very careful with the way that we used our wheat and our bread, and we had to use it as effectively as possible. Nothing had to be wasted, so therefore we're going to add in a couple of handfuls of breadcrumbs into the mix. Cooking fats were very heavily rationed during the war, so you made sure that you didn't waste any of your fat ration. Now, in this bowl here, I've got a little bit of fat that was used to fry a little bit of food the other night, and when we finished frying it, we poured it out into the bowl to make sure it wasn't wasted. Now, we haven't got enough fat here for this recipe, so we're going to pour this in and add in a little bit of lard as well. Next job is to slice the marrow down the middle and to scoop out the soft flesh from the inside. You need a baking tray, and just add a little bit of water to it just to help the marrows cook. And the marrows are now ready to go onto here, and then you add the stuffing to them. One of the rations that we haven't used at all over the past 2 weeks is our cheese ration. Now, we're entitled to 50 grams or 2 ounces of cheese a week, and we haven't touched it at all. We've been keeping it back, and now we're going to start using it, but we're not going to splurge it out in one go. What we're going to do is use a tiny little bit of cheese, grated, to go on the top of our marrows there. We reckon that's about 1 ounce worth, and that is half of one person's cheese supply for a week. These are the marrows, ready to go into the oven at 180 degrees centigrade. Well, they've had 45 minutes in the oven, and we're just going to give them a quick check to see how they're doing. Et voila! Marrows stuffed with spam.